Did you know that Diana Hyland, the poised and luminous actress who captivated audiences in both film and television, once admitted she felt more at home in a simple neighborhood diner than at any Hollywood gala? It's a curious confession, especially from someone who seems so elegantly comfortable in front of a camera. Yet beneath her composed exterior, Diana carried an old-fashioned warmth and quiet longing for an ordinary life, even as she dazzled viewers in some of the 1960s and 70s most memorable TV and film roles. Her story, though often overshadowed by her untimely passing, remains both profoundly inspiring and heartbreakingly poignant. Through her graceful screen presence and unrelenting personal battles, she left a legacy that still resonates, reminding us that behind a star's polished image is a real human soul yearning for connection. Born Diana Gentner in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, on January 25, 1936, she never quite fit the mold of a typical starlet in the making. She grew up in a relatively ordinary home, her father working a stable job that provided modest comfort, her mother encouraging artistic pursuits while reminding her daughter to remain humble. Even in her earliest years, Diana displayed an uncanny knack for performance. Family anecdotes describe her putting on impromptu plays in the living room, persuading siblings and cousins to join her reenactments of classic fairy tales. Yet she wasn't attention-hungry in a brash sense. Rather, she had a calm self-awareness and a measured confidence. Even as a child, she balanced daydreaming of bigger things with a sense of practicality instilled by her parents. She once told a childhood friend that being on stage felt like home, though she worried about the financial insecurity that a life in the arts might bring. During her teen years, the Hyland family relocated to the outskirts of New York City for her father's work, a move that placed Diana closer to the heart of America's theater world. She began venturing into Manhattan to watch stage productions and occasionally attend open auditions. She soon discovered a love for live theater, a place where every performance thrummed with electric immediacy. By the late 1950s, while still balancing part-time jobs to pay for acting classes, Diana landed her first few roles under her professional name, Hyland. It was typical in those days for young performers to adopt new stage names, something simpler or more catchy. She ultimately selected Diana Hyland, feeling it projected both elegance and a dash of mystery. Those who knew her personally joked that no matter what her name was, she radiated the same gentle sincerity. Her on-stage performances in smaller off-Broadway productions drew just enough attention that casting directors soon began inviting her to audition for television. At the time, television shows were hungry for fresh faces that could convey a sense of genuine warmth or everyday relatability. Diana's presence, refined yet approachable, proved magnetic. She made early TV appearances in anthology series and live dramas, some broadcast from New York's famed studios, before eventually heading to Hollywood. Each minor role nudged her career forward, sparking a realization that film and television might offer more creative variety than a solely stage-based path. Nonetheless, her stage training remained central to how she approached characters. Even in front of a camera, she acted as though she were performing for a live audience, channeling that sincerity into every line. Once in Hollywood, Diana found an industry in flux. The old studio system had mostly dissolved, replaced by smaller production companies willing to take risks on new talent. Big, glitzy musicals were waning, while gritty westerns, polished detective dramas, and pioneering sitcoms occupied primetime lineups. This was the environment that welcomed her. Though she wasn't cast in star-billed roles at first, she quickly became a dependable supporting actress, popping up in shows like The Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and a variety of short-lived series. In each, she brought a subtle emotional depth to the screen that producers valued. Someone who could portray both vulnerability and quiet resolve. Observing her, more experienced actors noted her uncommon discipline. She arrived on set prepared, never flustered, and rarely demanded the spotlight off camera. Her big break arrived in the 1960s with the emerging nighttime soaps and family dramas that embraced more complex storytelling. One such role was in the TV adaptation of Peyton Place, where she played a supporting character that let her explore serious emotional underpinnings. Although her part wasn't the show's centerpiece, critics took note of her performance, calling her a breath of warmth in a melodramatic ensemble. She also made appearances on other well-known series, dabbling in comedic spots or period pieces that revealed her range. The Hollywood rumor mill occasionally labeled her too demure, meaning she didn't exude the brash confidence associated with leading ladies of the time. Yet fans found that understated style enchanting. It felt real, unaffected. One rarely discussed but pivotal anecdote from this era involved a minor part she filmed for a crime show pilot. She was cast as a sympathetic victim's widow who had only a few minutes of screen time. Despite the brevity, she delved deeply into the character's heartbreak. A backstage observer later recounted how after filming a tearful scene, Diana retreated to a quiet corner, her hands trembling from the intensity. The show's director approached and gently asked if she was all right. Diana smiled and replied, "I'm just feeling it too much." That moment captured her immersive approach. She absorbed every character's emotions fully. Some argue that this attribute heightened her screen authenticity, while also making her more sensitive to emotional strain offset. As the 1970s rolled in, Diana Hyland's path led to more notable roles, including appearances in TV movies and high-profile guest spots. She never soared to the A-list stardom that turned heads at every Hollywood party, but among producers, she developed a reputation as a secret gem, the kind of performer who could lift a scene's emotional weight effortlessly. An especially transformative role came with the 1976 film Smokey, where she co-starred alongside Fess Parker. Though overshadowed by Parker's established presence, Diana won quiet praise for portraying her character with a gentle complexity that felt more real than the typical Western romance. Critics singled out her performance, highlighting how a single glance or half smile could convey volumes about her character's inner life. She also ventured into comedic territory here and there, popping up in lighter series that showcased her comedic timing, though producers mostly saw her as a dramatic actress. Tragically, her personal life was marked by heartbreak that rarely made it into public headlines. She married once, briefly, but the relationship crumbled under the weight of career demands and personal differences. Friends noted she was never fond of the Hollywood dating scene, feeling it was rife with superficial encounters. She preferred smaller gatherings, dinner with close friends, and the comfort of longtime confidants who knew she was far from a shallow starlet. In quiet moments, she confided in those she trusted, expressing a yearning for deeper human connection, maybe children of her own one day. Yet her schedule and the emotional toll of acting roles left little room for building the stable home life she quietly coveted. A major turning point came in 1976 when she accepted a role in a television movie of the week, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. The production co-starred a young John Travolta, not yet the mega star he would become after Saturday Night Fever. On set, the two formed a close bond, reportedly blossoming into a romantic connection that caught them both off guard. The significant age difference. Travolta was in his early 20s, while Diana was nearing 40, stirred some hushed chatter, but the pair defied the judgment. Travolta later described her as a guiding light, an anchor who exuded kindness and sincerity. For Diana, it was a chance at real emotional fulfillment, something that had eluded her for too long. Privately, though, she worried about the gulf in their life stages. She also worried about overshadowing his future if the public latched onto the relationship narrative. Despite her anxieties, she treasured the time they spent supporting and inspiring each other. Unexpectedly, amidst this new love and budding happiness, Diana's health began to falter. At first, she dismissed the fatigue as a byproduct of too many late-night shoots and emotional heaviness. But subtle pains escalated. She visited a doctor for a routine check and discovered a troubling diagnosis: breast cancer. In the 1970s, awareness of breast cancer was not what it is today, and treatments were less refined. Fear swelled, but Diana resolved to fight quietly. She confided only in a tight circle, including Travolta. Some said she approached her diagnosis with the same steadiness she brought to her acting. No theatrics, just purposeful determination. She underwent initial treatments, hoping to keep the matter private until she could know more. In her final months, even as she battled her illness, Diana remained dedicated to her craft. She took on a role in the pilot episode of the television series 8 is Enough, portraying Joan Bradford, the loving mother of a large brood. The character was warm, nurturing, and gentle, reminding viewers of the genuine spirit that Diana embodied in real life. Sadly, by the time filming was underway, her condition worsened. She found herself fatigued more easily, occasionally needing to rest between scenes. The crew noticed but admired her grit and kindness through it all. Her performance, though limited in screen time, was luminous, anchoring the show's heartfelt premise. By early 1977, her cancer had advanced, leaving fewer treatment options. John Travolta, still at her side, openly declared his affection, caring for her as best he could. In a rare moment of candidness, she admitted to a friend that one of her hardest struggles was reconciling this blossoming love with the stark reality of her prognosis. She felt heartbreak not for herself alone, but for Travolta, knowing how deeply her loss would affect him. In March, as 8 is Enough went into series production, it became apparent Diana was too ill to continue. The show's producers replaced her character in subsequent episodes, a decision made under extreme sorrow. Privately, cast members from that pilot episode expressed shock at how swiftly her health declined. On March 27, 1977, Diana Hyland passed away from complications related to breast cancer, just 41 years old. The final hours were spent in her Los Angeles home, comforted by close friends and Travolta, who later revealed that she passed peacefully, with minimal pain in her final moments. Nonetheless, it was an emotionally crushing departure, so abrupt that many fans didn't learn of her illness until news of her death broke. Travolta was devastated, describing her as the most wonderful human being I ever knew, admitting how helpless he felt in the face of her suffering. The entertainment world, too, felt a sting. Diana had never been a headliner commanding front-page billing, yet those who'd worked with her recognized she possessed a unique grace, both as an actress and as a person. In the aftermath, some controversies and debates emerged, mostly swirling around the details of her relationship with Travolta and the age difference. Gossip columns speculated about how a star of her maturity could fall so deeply for a relative newcomer. Others criticized the secrecy surrounding her illness, as if that choice somehow shortchanged fans from expressing their support. But those who truly understood Diana knew that she prized privacy. Her desire for normalcy was woven into her entire life philosophy. Historians of television note the heartbreak that 8 is Enough had to rewrite the mother role she introduced, turning her death into part of the show's storyline. Some fans continue to wonder how the series might have evolved had she been able to continue portraying Joan Bradford. For modern viewers, revisiting her appearances in series like Peyton Place, her film roles, or that poignant performance in 8 is Enough can feel like discovering a hidden jewel. She was an artist who gave her all to every frame, never seeming to chase celebrity but simply to do her job with kindness and authenticity. And I invite you, dear listener, to hold her memory kindly as proof that brilliance often comes wrapped in gentle humility. She may not have been a leading star for decades on end, but in her short life she touched countless hearts, both on screen and off. Let that remind us how fleeting but potent a single life can be, and how truly meaningful it is when a performer pours not just skill, but soul into their art. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you'll always be in the loop. Thanks for watching.